Hello and welcome back to the Hyperspace Podcast. My name is Sam, and today I'm joined by the ever-present Michael Ghosh. Michael, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good. You just can't get rid of me.
We've tried to move you on, but you clearly you hit off with the fans. You're here to bring in the ladies. That's the thing, Michael. That's why we've got you here. It clearly is, but today we are here to review, break down, talk about episode 4 of Kenobi. I mean, we're doing this after we've watched episode 5, so we're a bit late. We're sorry for that, but we will bring out an episode 5 soon. But yeah, for this one, episode 4, which we will talk about our thoughts a bit later, but I'm not sure that we thought of this episode particularly highly, but let's start at the beginning. And it's a 38-minute episode, and it starts with Kenobi waking up on a ship, taking him to Jabeam, another new planet. He's clearly dazed, and as they put him in the Bacta tank, we then switch between him and Vader, both in the tank, and it properly freaks Kenobi out. What do you think of this as the start? I think it was quite cool to see the parallels between him and Vader in the tank.
I don't know why, but like now you've said it, I don't think I thought about it at the time, but it's very Boba Fettish having a little bathing scene in the back tank. But I don't know, I thought it was really cool having the parallels, especially as I feel like there are some parallels between how God, which episode two or three? What was the last episode? My God,
3.
How episode 3 ended with the with the fire and stuff, right? I feel like there's some parallels between that and Revenge of the Sith, and like now him being in the back tank. There's that parallel with Darth Vader, and I think there's also the parallel because I think Obi-Wan feels so betrayed or also disappointed in himself for how Anakin's turned out. I think it kind of also the revelation that Anakin's Darth Vader is that machine kind of reminded me of like the Ahsoka realization when she realizes that Anakin is Darth Vader is Anakin. So I feel like there's quite a few little parallels to like you said between each other, but also between how people have realized it's Anakin. I don't know. I think it's cool shot, and it's a good way to explain why he's not burnt. Because otherwise he should be burnt in the original trilogy or in Rebels.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Now to the Inquisitor's fortress, where Leia has been captured. She's being her bossy self, being like, I'm a princess, I'm Princess of Alderaan, get me out of here. We then have Reva putting her in her place, and she tells her that Obi-Wan Kenobi is dead. And we have quite a lot of Reva and Leia interaction throughout the episode, and it is just interesting to see the dynamic between the two. It's quite a good dynamic, but again, there's not really much happening here. It's a very quick scene, and the pacing through this episode was very choppy. We then go back to a frustrated Roken who is very hesitant to help Obi-Wan because his wife died to an Inquisitor, hinting that his wife was a Jedi. He then quickly changes his mind, a bit too quickly for my liking, to be honest, and they plan about how they're going to rescue her. Now, I mean, we get Roken, whose wife we find out has died because of an Inquisitor, hinted that she's a Jedi. Do you think that that's someone that we know? Is this going to be relevant, or is it a throwaway line?
Right. First, I was going to say, so glad that Leia is sassy.
Yeah.
So glad. Perfect. I remember we quickly because we watched the episode together, we you're like, go on, tell her. So when Leia was just snapping back at her. But also, I think, right, I've seen this theory, and I actually like it. I think I might have thought about it. Was I don't think it's true now, but the theory that Riva is his wife, which would
Ooh.
be so good. And it's the thing I'm like, because we know because of episode 5, it's clearly not the case, but that would have been, I
It
don't know,
could,
maybe
yeah, yeah. I find it unlikely,
me
especially after
now, but
watched episode 5.
when we watched when we well, but let's just episode 4. It honestly, I was thinking like when I saw it pop up, I was like, you know what? That would make so much sense because it explained why she's such a broken person. Like I know they said they found her in a gutter, and we speculated. Like I think I speculated. Oh yeah, she's probably a youngling. Like she was probably at the temple, and it like I think at the time people saw there was a had mentioned there was a youngling that kind of looked like her.
I did.
So
I mentioned that.
yeah, you
My
mentioned that. You
theory.
mentioned that. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, which made sense, and I thought it must be the case if they found her in a gutter. It makes sense that they would find her in the in the temple. So the question is, who do you think his wife could be? Like, who's a Jedi who is like young enough to be like? Because I'm gonna guess he's like in his 30s, 40s, maybe, which means the person would have to been like a very old youngling, like a
Mm,
young Padawan, or like some basically. I think it would be a Padawan. The question is like, what Padawans are like running around the galaxy who we know of? Like the only like other Padawan running around I keep thinking of is Barriss Offee, but that's not going to be the case.
definitely
And
not her.
she probably got like brought into the Inquisitorium, or like is somewhere else or got killed. So who's like the right age for it? Like maybe a young Jedi Knight, but who's we know the people I keep thinking of are all dead, like Luminara, Shakti. Oh no, Shakti hasn't had a canon death. There
She's
you go.
dead. She is dead.
She's
She
had 3 deaths, but none of them are canon.
she's definitely dead. You
Oh,
can't.
almost. There's Yoda has a vision of her being dead in the Clone Wars, but that's not that doesn't count as a canonical death. I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying she's alive, but who do you have any theories of who it could be? Since you're asking me, or you
I
might
I think it's a throwaway line. To be fair, I think it's probably a throwaway line because
probably.
I've had a think about it, and there is no one it could possibly be. I mean, it's yeah. For me, it's probably a throwaway line. Maybe it'll be explored more. Maybe he'll be in a future of like a future show. I don't know. I was thinking maybe that he could have. I mean, maybe I don't know if it was cancelled before this, but maybe he could have showed up in Rangers of the New Republic. Or is that
I think
even the
he's too
right
young.
time?
He's too young. He'd be like he'd be old by then, because I think that's 10 years to maybe 15 years. Oh, I guess yeah. I gotta keep remembering that like Fennec Shand was in Clone Wars, and then like
Yeah,
30 years later, she's like she hasn't aged a day since the Clone Wars. Like whatever moisturizer she's using, I want it because I could make a fortune off it.
yeah, it is crazy. And I feel like just even like for her age in real life, she just looks really good
She looks
for
young,
her
yeah.
age.
I think
But
I feel like that whole Boba Fett as well. Like Tamara Morrison looks like he's aged
yeah,
pretty well as well.
yeah,
I don't know.
he's a reasonably good looking chap, I think it's fair to say. But yeah,
I don't know. It must be a throwaway line, like you said, because I mean, I think the other thing is not all force sensitive people in the galaxy necessarily got spotted by the Jedi. I think the Jedi recruited pretty much the entirety of them, but depending on what level of force sensitivity they may have displayed at a young age, maybe they just didn't get picked up, or by the time they were going to get picked up, they're way too old. I don't know, because like if they're on the outer rim, like Anakin didn't get spotted, and he's like force sensitive as hell.
yeah,
Like
true.
as a kid, he's like it's obvious. Like Ahsoka gets spotted when she's like 3 or 2, and Obi-Wan, I think we speculated, must have been like 8 or under when he got he got recruited based on the things he'd said in episode 3. Yeah, it was episode 3, I think, when he said about the fact he had a family. So I don't know. It's like you said, it must be a throwaway line, but it'd be cool if they can like meaningfully bring like a character back. Maybe like one of the Padawans that Ahsoka saves in the Clone Wars, from the Trandoshan hunters.
Yeah, maybe.
Because
we're definitely reading too much into it. It's
your
definitely
favorite character's coming back to Bad Batch. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe we'll get some further thing on it, but it's unlikely. Move back to the story. We then have Reva continuing to interrogate Leia about the path. Leia still stays strong. I mean, this just happened throughout the episode. Tala is then back to Tala, who lands in the fortress using her officer clearance as a disguise. Obi-Wan enters by swimming under the fortress using the same breathing piece that he wore in The Phantom Menace. And it was the same music as The Phantom Menace as well. And Michael, I love the references, the just even smallest details of a breathing piece. How good is it to have those?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, we did have a quick chat before the show. We've got some like pacing. You've got some pacing complaints that you raised. I feel like so far, and I think a little bit further, the pacing is pretty good. Like they've given time to develop, like to show all of these little parallels, which has been cool, like the back to tank, or like even just mentions of the Jedi beyond, the Jedi and Force sensitive people beyond. I don't know. It's cool that they bring back the Phantom Menace as well, because I've always had a really soft spot for the Phantom Menace. Like that's the one I always rewatch. I think maybe when you're like, it's because when I was a kid, I didn't really care about seeing like angsty Anakin become Darth Vader and Revenge of the Sith. What I wanted to see was pod racing and the awesome like battle droid versus Gungan fight. I don't know. Maybe that's that was my like little kid brain. But yeah, it's nice they do that little callback, and I think it's cool because I like it. It seems like something that you'd imagine he would keep on him, because like breathing underwater seems like a pretty like useful thing to be able to do. And I know the Jedi don't really carry personal belongings, but things like that make sense. Or like he kept his comlink he had from Attack of the Clones, which I forgot to say that was a parallel as well. That was a cool one.
True. Yeah, that's very true.
And those sort of like the disc hologram ones haven't been seen in quite some time, like that style, because they don't show up in The Mandalorian. I don't think they show up in the original trilogy. It's a specifically like prequel Clone Wars era thing, so it's cool to see those in live action again. Sorry, I know that's a bit of a tangent, but yeah, all the parallels are great because it's not something that's necessary, but it shows that they actually appreciate the character despite what people say. And I know people could argue that it's a bit of a cheap trick using callbacks, but none of them have been like in your face so much as like, hey, look, you remember this thing from that one film? Like, if you don't remember Phantom Menace, it doesn't affect the enjoyment of the scene. Like, yeah, you won't get the cool little tidbit, but it doesn't affect your like understanding of the scene and all the other references or callbacks.
Yeah, no, it is really cool to see. We then go back to Reva, who tries to use the Force to look inside Leia's mind to get the information she wants. Leia then asks, is it a staring contest? Another little snappy line, another very funny line. But for me, it's just like, I feel like this was necessary, but the last time they went with Reva and Leia, nothing was really achieved, and it was so short, like it's such a small amount of time where they went from one scene to the other that it just wasn't needed, and that's why I felt like the pacing was a bit off.
I think I think some of that is to do with the idea that she is like we theorize that she is a youngling. Some of the like dialogue indicates that she was a youngling, but which is why I think it was like I think we like very much jumped on that and we assumed that was the case. It's because I think some of the dialogue sort of hints towards the fact that she like was abandoned. But yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of the like quick cut back to Leia and Reva were unnecessary, except from this one. I think this one was absolutely necessary because it was so like I think it's important because you're like surely that like she could, especially as kids are meant to be weak minded, right? You did like obviously one would think like obviously you if you're a Sith you or like an Inquisitor you would use the Force to like get the information out because it's far quicker. The fact that she can't do it was a really cool like nod to the fact that she's Force sensitive. I don't think we've had any nods yet to that because she hasn't got the like precognition that like Anakin had. I don't think honestly Luke didn't have very many signs he was Force sensitive either.
Yeah.
I don't think he really did at all in the original trilogy. So I think that's like it's cool. It's such a subtle like nod to that.
Yeah, that is a good nod. I agree with you. This one was definitely necessary. We then have Tara getting confronted about why she is there after she infiltrated the facility. She beats up an officer, and then when she goes back on the voice comm, she almost gets Kenobi found out, but by some stormtroopers, but he uses the Force to distract them. And I think this was the first indication that Kenobi's getting back to his old self, using the Force with a lot more ease. And I mean, there's a bigger tell later in this episode, but this is an early sign that, he's getting back to his old ways.
I think, right, I'm going to have a little like jab at this, but I don't know what it is, right? There's a few things I actually have to complain about. Sorry about this scene. There's a scene with the he does the like stance at the end to show off a little bit, which was cool. But like there was something a bit janky about the way he wields the lightsaber in the scene. Like I don't know. I think it was intentional. There's like you can see he's like some of the movements. You can tell he's like older, like or rustier. Like it's not the Revenge of the. It's 100% not the Revenge of the Sith Kenobi fighting here, which. It's really like I guess it's not such a complaint, but it like I don't know. I think it's just a bit like he's definitely got more in touch with it. But I think there's a few scenes here where you can tell he's like still not the Obi-Wan we like saw in like the end of the Clone Wars or Revenge of the Sith, or that we see in Rebels. He's like very much like out of touch with like the Jedi arts.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad that that's the case, to be fair, because could you imagine that he had 10 years without a lightsaber, he picks it up and it all comes back to him, and all of a sudden he's Clone Wars Obi-Wan.
I think like when I say it's a complaint, it's more so like I wish they'd done it a bit more, because I feel like it's like you have to like I think it was because I was watching the lightsaber so intently, I could tell that there's like I say jankiness. It's not like the animation, but you can tell the way he moves it. He is like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like he's a bit stiffer. It's like he's like forcing himself to remember, oh, that's the like is it form 3 he uses? I'm sure someone could tell us. I think it's form 3 style he uses it. You can sort of tell he's like he's like trying to remember like all of the stances and the techniques. And it's like I don't know how to say it, but it's like if you got someone who's never ridden a bike for like 10 years and you get them back on a bike, they'll be able to ride the bike. There is going to be like something like off about the movements, if that makes sense. And I think it's quite cool that they were able to actually do that.
Yeah.
And I think it continues like throughout this episode that it's like he's really good with the lightsaber. It's something like not quite right, which is good.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good thing. We then get more Reva and Leia interrogation, and Reva takes Leia to what I'm calling the chair of pain, which we have previously seen the Inquisitors use in Rebels, and we've seen Han Solo in it in Empire Strikes Back. It's been used several times, and it's another nice little callback. It's not on the nose. It's not too on the nose, but yeah, Leia gets taken to this chair of pain, which I'm surprised she's the right height for it because she is tiny.
I think it was a slightly different one to the Han Solo one. The Han Solo one was like, I think it was on the visual dictionary. Apparently it's a mining equipment that got rejigged to become torturing equipment, which was quite cool. But yeah, the torture chair of the Empire. I forgot it was in Rebels. My God, that's cool. My God, yeah, I really forgot that was in Rebels. But yeah, it's cool that they yeah. Why do they have a torture chair the right fittings for a child? Like, I understand the Empire kills children, but torturing children, like, I'm surprised that they do it. But I don't know. The Inquisitors are into some weird like stuff. Like like they're pretty weird. Like in like the Ahsoka novel, one of them just like watches this like 2-year-old and like doesn't like when they're like just hunting like basically like the like most minimal like force sensitive people. They honestly don't care, and they're just there because they have to be. And he just once they find out there's an actual Jedi, he just leaves. He doesn't kill the kid, he just leaves. So like, which is kind of funny because that kid ends up being absolutely fine because the Inquisitor just gets killed later. I think it's the earliest Inquisitor kill, but I don't know. I think it's cool that the we get to see the like Inquisitor's castle as well. Like that's from Fallen Order as well. Although I haven't actually finished that game.
Yeah, no, it certainly is cool. We then have what I think is the most interesting part of the episode where Obi-Wan finds a tomb with all the Jedi that the Inquisitors have killed. It includes Terra Sanube, the old Jedi investigator from Clone Wars, which was really sad, and another great Easter egg. A Jedi youngling who some are speculating is Master Skywalker. There's too many of them.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? But I think
that's what
it's
I
a
thought.
different one.
It is. I think it's almost certainly a different one. Now I've like seen it again. I think it's one of the kids from the scene at the beginning of Kenobi.
Yeah, potentially.
I think it's one of those because I don't think they would. I might be wrong, but honestly, it'd be such a waste of effort for them to try and CGI the kid from that far back into it.
Definitely.
Like, surely they would just get a kid they can just scan, like, or scan, or like they have like a better reference to do. But yeah, I think I didn't see. Was there anyone else in there? I completely.
There's speculation that so it's literally like background ones and people going. There's one that people were speculating might be Mace Windu. However, I still think he might turn up, and I'll tell you why. I don't think he's dead, because the amount of people that have fell from height and lost an arm in Star Wars and survived is quite a long list. And the amount of times that Samuel Jackson has come out and said he wants to return to this role, Star Wars would be so stupid. They would be so stupid because it's an easy moneymaker and they could sell all the toys, and they've got like an A-lister who says they want to come back to the role. So they would be stupid not to do it. I mean, even in his latest interview, he was asked about Oscars, and he was like, he's way past like doing films because to try and win an Oscar, because he doesn't care about that. And then he said, I'd much rather be someone like Nick Fury in Marvel, or play with my lightsaber as Mace Windu in Star Wars, than do that. So he literally like name dropped Star Wars in so many interviews. They have to give him a show. I'm sorry, it'd be stupid.
I think this is Sam's desperate coming out as we're having a pitch episode, another pitch episode, and it will be Samuel Jackson as Mace Windu.
Has to be. It makes sense.
Right. Well, I think you need to do this pitch now at some point. I think the fact that he's willing to do it is another thing. Like, I feel like the fact he's willing to play as Mace Windu again. The question is, how do you fit him in, and does he like break canon? Like, if he supersedes like the Order 66, and I guess basically makes it all the way to Kenobi era, which I think is necessary. I think if you're going to do a Jedi thing, either set it with, you're going to have to somehow fit in the like either the Ahsoka novel, all the stuff that's happening in between, like the Fallen Order, basically. I think is the next Jedi related content I can think of, or it'd have to fit in with Kenobi, or it has to fit in with Rebels, basically, or it has to fit in with Andor. It has to fit in with one of those time periods, basically.
Yeah.
So I think the question is how do you do that? And I think also the other thing is it sort of needs to happen like as soon as possible before there is so much material it's physically impossible to squeeze them in somewhere. Like if they're not careful, they could end up in a situation where they cannot do it. Like I think personally, I think the reason why Ahsoka was able to make it past Order 66 is the fact basically as soon as Rebels came out, I think like 100% as soon as Rebels was being done, like Dave Filoni knew Ahsoka was going to survive. He just had to get to the point where he could write her into the show. And I think the case needs to be the same with like Mace Windu, where it's really important. As soon as they can like write him into something, they need to write him in. Like obviously it needs to be well thought out and well done. But I feel like the sooner the better, because if it's too late, you end up with the question that I would ask, it's just where has he been?
Yeah, that is
like,
the main issue.
Why like I think it wouldn't be an issue if he can fit in and there's a good explanation for it. If he fits in soon enough before there is more than just Andor, which is going to be like multi-seasonal by the sounds of it, or it's going to cover the entire period up until Rogue One. It needs to happen either in Andor or during like the time period of Andor, like a Mandalorian Boba Fett or like Mandalorian Ahsoka situation.
But
I think is necessary. It could happen. I just know there's a stipulation that it needs to happen like fairly soon.
But your point of that, you'd ask where he is. But I mean, different franchise. But how many times in Marvel have you watched a film and been like, "Well, where are the rest of the Avengers? Like, why aren't they helping?" This is
that's because it's an inferior franchise.
Well, there you go. But,
no, so, I joke.
It doesn't need to make sense. Even if they made it no non-canon, I don't care. I went back.
Okay, they could do it non-canon. I think honestly, I feel like Visions, like a Vision style, where they just say, right, Samuel Jackson, what do you want to do? Who do you want to kill? And how much of a bad motherfucker do you want to be?
Yeah.
And they once they have that done, which is he's going to be the baddest motherfucker in the universe, basically, because Yoda's dead or like crying in his little cave or having a little party or whatever, making his little meat soups, right? Which means that as long as Samuel Jackson isn't doing the same thing, which you never know, he'd be the single most powerful person in the universe that isn't Darth Vader or the Emperor, right? Or less questionably Ahsoka, right? Of that time period. Different. Ahsoka didn't have to go in hiding for very long. Is the point? It's depending on what they do with Mace Windu. If Mace Windu goes into hiding for 10 years, I'm sorry, but Ahsoka would kick his ass.
Yeah,
like Kenobi would get his ass absolutely handed to him by Ahsoka right now. The state he's in. I don't know. I think there's a right way to do Mace Windu, and I think it's necessary. I think it'd be great. I think they should bring him back. If they've got an actor who is Samuel L. Jackson saying, I will play this role. I'd rather do this than an Oscar-winning film. Now, the question is he going to be like Liam Neeson has said in interviews that he would be unwilling to do a TV show. Now, if Samuel Jackson says the same thing, he doesn't stand a chance of being in Star Wars again. He doesn't. I'm sorry, a film about Samuel Jackson as Mace Windu will not happen. It won't. It's not like it about Mace Windu. It could happen that Mace Windu's in it. I don't think a film about Mace Windu would happen because I think there's too much of a gap in the history of him for them to do it. I think if they do it, it has to be they do it in a similar style to Boba Fett, and like how does he survive? What is he going to do now, basically? And that's like the big question is how does he get off Coruscant? I'm not saying it's not possible. The question is they'd have to answer how does he get off Coruscant? How does he survive? How does he avoid Order 66? So I guess it'd be like a Bad Batch era thing maybe, or like an Andor situation where it goes across. I don't know. Do you think
Yeah.
it's even possible they could fit it in? I know you said, oh yeah, but it doesn't really matter where people have been. But there are certain things that Jedi always have to answer, which is, how did you survive Order 66? Always. Every single character who is a Jedi that was in the temple has had that answered, whether it's Ahsoka, Kanan, Obi-Wan, even Yoda had that answered. Who else has survived? Quinn and Voss likely will have that answered.
Yeah.
Although I think there's enough answers to the fact that he was not in the core, that
Yeah.
it's not even necessary for him to have that explained. But a character that's in like a core world, that's in Coruscant, in the heart of the Empire, I think it's going to be, I don't know. I think it needs to be answered. And the other question is, what is he doing right? What would the show film be about? I think they could do it. They could do it. Just they need Dave Filoni, John Favreau to work the little magical ones and write some absolute gold tier stuff for him. But I think it's good that that Samuel Jackson's willing to do it. I don't see why he wouldn't be. I mean, he gets a purple lightsaber. No one has a purple lightsaber besides him and what, Revan maybe.
Yeah, no, it is cool, and yeah, I do want him back. Back to Kenobi now,
Yeah,
and
that was a tangent and a half.
definitely was one of the tangents that we go on. We have now Tala distracting Reva by telling her where the path is, and this is definitely going to lead into another tangent. She says it's on Florum. Now, is Hondo returning towards the end of the series?
Right.
Definitely not in episode 5,
Right.
but maybe in episode 6.
Right. Can I just say, if if he does make a return, I personally want us to do an episode on him. I also want Disney to pay me money for telling them that it needs to happen. Disney, just hire me. You don't need to pay me any money. Just hire me. I'll work for you. I'll fix the mess you've made.
The mess you made, nice and no, you'll fix. Is it fixable?
Is the mess with the fan base? Who knows? Honestly, maybe the mess they made is the fan base.
Yeah, no, it's a very divided fan base.
One part of the fan base. But I think Hondo, he's alive. Like, as much as like people don't like Galaxy's Edge, or I think that's more so to do with the sequel era material. We know he survives. We know him and Kenobi have a relationship, and we also know that Hondo wouldn't sell him out to the Empire. Surprisingly, wouldn't sell him out to the Empire, because he didn't sell out the Jedi in Rebels. Which, honestly, think about how much money how lucrative that would be. Like, while he is a pirate, he's a pretty honorable pirate as they go. Now, I would love it if they could get the voice actor to play him. But considering everything going on in the world, there is one actor I feel like kind of like, assuming everything's true, I think there's one actor who deserves the run. That's Johnny Depp.
How many times have we said that though?
Johnny Depp would suit, like, I know, like, I don't. Hondo is not Jack Sparrow. There is enough difference between them, but
Yeah.
he would, like, the thing is, he won't work for Disney. He said 300 million US dollars and a million like llamas or alpacas, and he that wouldn't get him enticed by Disney. So Disney can't get him. So I think the voice actor be the way to go with it. But who knows what they'll do with it? I mean, they have the costume for it, because they've done the costuming for it before, because they've done it for Galaxy's Edge. They've done all the prosthetics. They've done the costuming. They know roughly what he looks like, and they know how they got someone to voice him close enough that it sounds like either the voice actor from Clone Wars Rebels or someone who looks like it. And because of the prosthetics, they could either dub over the actor, they could get the voice actor to do it. So
yeah, I think
they won't do it. Disney.
No,
I don't think Disney's bold enough to. Disney's not bold enough to do it, and that's why they need to hire us, because we would do it. And I think it's what actually is what Disney Star Wars is missing. I think it's kind of missing the like Lando, Han Solo, Hondo like charm, or like, like, I don't know how, like the sort of like the like, the likable rogue, I guess. They're kind of missing that like scoundrelly charm from Star Wars, because Mando doesn't have any charm. I won't lie, he has none.
Yeah, well, it's not
He's
written
not
to
meant
have
to.
charm.
No. But the point is, like, they don't. That Boba Fett is also not written like that either, and they don't have anyone in the Mandalorian universe so far that's a character that fits that role either. Of that, like, maybe like, oh my god, the guy who Cobb Vanth maybe closest.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a gap. There is a gap. There is a specific gap
yeah.
that like they have and they could fill. And I don't know. Maybe they won't ever do it, but why they brought him to Galaxy's Edge will be a mystery for me for the rest of my life. Like, if they're not going to put him in a TV show, like, why spend all that money on the animatronic? Have you seen the animatronic? It looks real. It moves like a real person. Why wouldn't you put him in a TV show and then, like, hey, look, he's in Galaxy's Edge? I mean, marketing genius. Imagine having like it is marketing genius to have like a character from a theme park ride in a TV show, which would make you money based on the fact that TV show that character is popular and the content is popular anyways, would feed into the theme park, which Disney does care about.
Yeah, well,
There you go.
I worry that they'll do that, and then you'll be the only one who gets excited about it, and everyone else will be like, "Why is he here?"
No. How? All right, tell me something. Who do you think? Like, do you think that, like, maybe I'm wrong, but he's a popular character, right? Or am I just really like? Am I the only person who like is intelligent enough and cultured enough to pick out Hondo as like a prime Star Wars character? Because I don't think I am. I think maybe the thing is because he's from Clone Wars, he won't be considered like big enough to get a TV show. Like, Ahsoka's a bit different, Matt, but Cad Bane made it into the Mandalorian, and Cad Bane has less of a role than Hondo does in Star Wars.
But Cad Bane's a more iconic character. As much as I do like Hondo, as much as I do like Hondo, I genuinely, if you ask the majority of Star Wars fans, who your favorite characters are, like top 10, he'd be in yours. He would be in so few people's, but like, not that he's a bad character, but there's just a lot of better characters.
No, he's just underrated. He's categorically underrated. And I look, maybe I'm wrong, but there is a space for him to fit in, especially as they keep poking at the same archetypal characters. Like, I feel like Andor is far more similar to the Mandalorian or even like Boba Fett than he is to a Hondo. I feel like a lot of characters they got the room, but no, sorry, that was such a tangent. Oh God, I forgot about Florin being mentioned. But I don't know. I feel like there's space for Florin at least to come back, and like the pirate gang to be like at like, the classic Hondo. Like, are they antagonists or are they our friends? There's the space for it, especially in Boba Fett, because him and Boba Fett are friends.
Yeah, no, it's true. He was a good. He was a great character, but we'll see if he ever comes back. Moving it back
he won't. Disney hates me.
Yeah, he won't. Now, moving back to Kenobi, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi after using Tala's distraction, despite Reva definitely suspecting her of being a liar. Kenobi arrives to save Leia by taking the power out in the room where she is, and he takes out the stormtroopers with a really cool contrast between the dark room and the glowing lightsabers as he takes out the two troopers, as I said. However, Disney don't remember how lightsabers work. It takes him 4 hits to kill one trooper and 2 to kill the other. And it's just so frustrating seeing this really annoyed me. I mean, I remember watching it live and I messaged you saying Disney have literally forgotten how lightsabers work. Lightsabers can cut through doors, they can cut through anything, But then you get to Stormtrooper armor. I mean, unless they say in episode 6, by the way, our Stormtroopers are wearing Beskar, then they have no. I just don't understand. It should be able to cut through them. Why is he like? If it was like, it was basically being used like a sword, which practically makes sense. But it literally shows him just whacking a stormtrooper in the same place with a lightsaber, and it just bounces back off him, and then it doesn't make sense. It's annoying, and with the VFX budget that they have, it shouldn't be an issue. Michael, what are your thoughts on this? Because it really annoyed me, and it's so stupid.
I wonder if that's why I said he looks rusty, because I remarked on the fact, like, not only but like the thing you're talking about, there are some movements that look a bit weird. I wonder if that's what played into it, because I didn't notice that he Stormtrooper was taking that many hits, but certainly like something was just off with like that bit of combat. I couldn't remember which bit it was, but it was that bit when you I think you said it to me in episode 5 that you don't think they know how lightsabers work, but you did say like the lightsabers were just like something a bit weird. I think when we watched it the first time together, I didn't notice. I noticed something was off, but I wasn't really paying attention to that. Just glad to see Obi-Wan swinging a lightsaber again. But there is something like Disney doesn't know how lightsabers work. Like you said, like I don't understand why or how they've forgotten how they work. But it's like something like I feel like it's the case was I complained. I think when we did our Star Wars rankings for the films, I talked about how the sequels completely forgot how lightsabers work. It was like one of my major complaints was the fact that Rey just picks up a lightsaber, and considering they have no weight to the blade, she doesn't get it doesn't freak her out, even though the only thing she's ever used to hit people with is a big, heavy wooden staff, which are yes, she's got martial arts experience, but with with a staff, right? It's two completely different things. I'm not sure why Disney don't get how they work, but yeah, like the fact they were taking multiple swings, maybe they've been playing too much Fallen Order, and even then though, the thing with that then is even when you cut, when you hit a stormtrooper, they get cuts along their armor. I feel like I need to rewatch it to see if that happens in this. If that happens in this, then I feel like that's
they did get some cuts.
But in which case I'm 50-50 about it, because maybe it just shows that Obi-Wan, either they don't know how lightsabers work, which they definitely don't with episode 5. When we get to that, we'll talk about that. But this episode, I feel like I can forgive it just for the reason he's so rusty. I don't know. It is a bit bad. Multiple hits with a lightsaber from Obi-Wan Kenobi is a bit strange.
4 to kill
4
one.
Is too many. Yeah. 4. I was arguing that if it's multiple strikes, 2, 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
1, 2, or 3. But 4 is too many. My point was if at least they're getting cuts on them, I'm it's not so bad, but just I don't know. I think there's a lot of things. Again, the thing I was going to complain about in the hallway, and I'm going to get to complain about now, is I don't. Maybe it's just me, and it's my obsession with war films. But people don't know how to take cover in the Star Wars universe. It makes sense when they're fighting one jet, a Jedi 1-on-1. I guess that you'd be I probably don't need to take cover if I'm if there's 5 of us shooting at him, right? But they all sort of stand still and just shoot at him. I don't know. It just seems bizarre to me that no one's trying to at least hug the wall a little bit, even if he's not got a gun. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being stupid and not thinking that stormtroopers don't know lightsabers repel blaster bolts. But I assume if they're working for the Inquisitorium, where their main threat would be potentially Jedi, they would be taught that. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's a few things that Disney forgets. Although, you know what, I say that, but in Star Wars, they really do use the human wave tactics, as I talked about with I think I've talked to you about Phantom Menace. They literally have 2 armies in formation marching against each other when they have modern weaponry, which blows my mind. But apparently it's not a big deal. So I've got to forget it's Star Wars. It's actually just genuinely Star Wars logic that people don't take cover too much.
Yeah,
I don't know. The lightsabers, there is something odd about the way Disney uses them. you think there's a reason they don't get it? Do you think they don't get it? Do you think it's deliberate? Do you think it's somewhat of a mixture of both, which is what I think? Like they don't get it, and also there's some deliberate decision making.
I just think it's the showrunner just not even thinking about it, think it makes sense. It's definitely frustrating, but you mentioned that, like, because we're going to talk about it now. We have Kenobi fighting off troopers with his lightsaber after a droid completely baits them out, and he deals with them. But you say that they don't take cover. In Clone Wars, the clone troopers always took cover.
Yeah, that's sort
And
of
so
like
this
there is.
like it's irregular. Like it in some parts it does,
Like,
they do, in some parts they don't.
I mean, I know in the original trilogy they don't take too much cover, but when in those situations, it's normally first of all rebels, right? In which case, it sort of makes sense you would be like, especially like in Death Star, for example, like they don't really take cover, but there's like hundreds of them, and there's like 4 of them. That makes sense why they don't take cover, because honestly, if you like, I'm not gonna say, I don't want to say volley fire because that's like a very like 18th century term, but if you like, a bunch of you are in a line and you fire at the same time, one of you must, like statistically must hit one of the 4 people, right? If not all 4 of them, and kill them, right? So it makes sense why you wouldn't take cover. And you're right, every single time in the Clone Wars, they take cover, whether that's the Clone Wars movie, like Rex takes cover several times in the movie, or like any of the seasons. Like, I think like even on Umbara, when they're doing like a bit more of a I guess like a tactical drop, and then like, or like not an airborne landing, but almost airborne landing. And then they're charging. Even then, they do get a little bit into ditches and stuff. That's probably one of the worst examples. But I don't know. It might be I think it's partially a Star Wars thing. But like in corridors and stuff, it just seems weird. Like none of them think, oh, maybe we should get, like, we have blasters, they can shoot all the way along a corridor. Why don't we get put ourselves a bit further away from a guy who's got a stick, basically a light up stick that can cut us in half? I don't know. You're right. In Clone Wars, they like the clones typically take cover.
Yeah, majority of the time I'm pretty sure they take cover. So that's why I think it's frustrating.
There's a few examples, especially early on, where they do human wave tactics, but then that's a canonical thing that the Jedi were just tactically stupid.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could tell in the end of Attack of the Clones
Attack of the Clones, they should have given Yoda a copy of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Like, honestly, like.
Yeah, it is. But frustrating. But
yeah,
I don't think it was that bad, to be honest. The hallway scene was all right because the troopers stayed away because they were always shooting from, and he was just deflecting bullets. So that looked a lot better, and it was cool to see Obi-Wan like that.
I mean, there's, like I said, I'm making very like I'm being as picky as I can about this, because I'm not. Again, I'm trying to be like very critical about the show because I really like it as a whole, but people seem to generally dislike this show, at least as an entire entity. And even with like these, like that nitpicky complaint, the lightsaber's not quite working, the pacing of this episode being quite poor. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's dreadful, it's very watchable.
Yeah,
but there is something off about it.
I will probably, unless I'm watching the whole series and watching everything in canonical order, I'll never watch it again. Like, I'm never gonna go, you know what was a great episode that I'm just gonna watch when I have an hour or something like that. I'm not gonna rewatch it. But I mean, we'll go on to more of our thoughts on the full episode at the end. We then have Kenobi using the Force to hold back water as the glass around him starts to break. He directs the water into the stormtrooper as him, Tala, and Leia escape and get past everyone, including 2 Inquisitors in an oversized coat, which I've never... The Star Wars community, let me tell you, they were not happy with that.
They're not happy very, very much, to be honest.
Yeah, but this was... what was it? It was a bit... Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was a bit cringe.
Can I quickly like say something? I actually really liked it when I rewatched it. It was one of the things I actually enjoyed. It sounds really stupid, but maybe it's because I like how funny it is that he gets past the fifth brother and oh, is it the sister?
Yeah, I
The like
think
yeah,
yeah,
the third sister or the third sister or something. No, like fourth sister or something. Third sister's Reva. Whatever her the yellow Twi'lek.
yeah,
I think it's a Twi'lek.
yeah, I think so.
I'm sure someone's gonna find out, but I don't know. I kind of liked it. I mean, considering how inept the fifth brother was in Rebels, I'm okay with that. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like it's actually like she. First of all, she walked. To be fair, she walked into the place and like owned the shit out of the security guy. So I can kind of understand why no one would approach her and question her if she like was willing to do that. And like if she was, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if she was willing to do that and they actually think she's got a connection to the Inquisitors, stormtroopers wouldn't. Stormtroopers can't see shit anyways in their bucket, so that kind of makes sense. But I feel like the other officers just wouldn't question her at that point. I don't know. It is really cheesy with Leia under the coat, especially as she peeps out. I don't know why I low key liked it, but I think that's because Star Wars is cheesy at the end of the day, some bits of it. I don't know. I can understand why you don't like it. It's a bit ridiculous. And yeah, I don't know how they got past all the Inquisitors, all the troopers. No one questions why is this man wearing an outdoor coat that is that thick on a volcano planet? Is it a volcano planet or is it a pretty it doesn't
water.
look cold. It doesn't look cold though. It doesn't look that cold. And he's the only one wearing one of those big coats. So I'm surprised
Yeah.
no one like I feel like they would have done better of like putting her in a trash can and having the trash can walk around with her. I don't know.
Where did she even get the coat as well? That's another thing. She just suddenly like has a coat, and it's like, fair enough. I guess you have a coat now. I don't have that much. It's not one of the worst things
You
about
want
the
to
episode.
you want what Sam is trying to say is he wants to do a show pitch about the coat's origins, where it came
That's
from,
it.
who made it, who's worn it, is it a
Yeah.
Clone Wars thing? What did it do? How did it escape Order 66? How did the coat make it here?
There we go. You know me too well. But yeah, it
It's
is.
do you know who it's the Brum Boy's father's coat.
Must be. Now we know.
There you go. Now we know.
Now we know. But yeah, it is. It's. I'm not too angry
it's
about it.
I think it's completely ridiculous, and a lot of people I can understand why people don't like it. I mean, I think if like I rewatched it, I kind of smiled because I thought it was funny, but I don't think that was the fact that I thought it was funny was not the reaction they were going for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I
It
think it's funny
definitely
when they walk
wasn't.
past the Inquisitors. So I don't know. Maybe that's just my sense of humor's a bit off. So I
Mate,
think it's funny.
there's definitely a high potential of that. We then have Reva calling them out, calling Tala a traitor, and they are surrounded when in to save the day comes some T-47s that were, of course, repurposed later on in Empire Strikes Back. They're the snow speeders. I mean, I'm pretty sure when I saw them immediately, I just put in the chat
You're like
snow
snow speeders.
speeders.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was right. Were repurposed. But yeah, the T-47 saved the day, blowing up all the troopers. We then have Tala, Kenobi, and Leia getting in the T-47 with Sully as Wade fires at Reva. And then Reva blows up Wade, and Sully's sad. And there's very patchy CGI. And that was, I mean, I noticed this straight away. I was like, this looks a bit weird.
Yeah, it does look a bit off. I also, you're like, oh, Wade dies. He like fully like stops, hovers, shoots the Inquisitor lady, and then when the box gets thrown at him, you just sent me the word. Wade deserved to die. Got cocky. That's all he sent. And yeah, he did. Like, what kind of mad? Like, he must have known he was gonna die. And like, I think it's funny that he celebrates and then the box hits him. But maybe that's also like, I think it's just because he gets cocky, and we've seen what like Inquisitors can do. Like, they're somewhat incapable, but they're not like against a normal
Yeah.
person. They're gonna kill you. I don't know what. Also, why did he get so close to like her to shoot at her? He doesn't need to be that close. Like, I hate to tell you, but there isn't that much bullet drop on lasers. I don't.
That's
I might
it.
be. I I might be wrong, but I think there's only bullet drop on those lasers in Battlefront 2, and that isn't in space.
Yeah, I mean, there's only bullet drop in the games, which sums up everything. But yeah, it was just the CGI was a bit frustrating
It was
here, and
it kind of looked like they had the like a paper like a model, and they had like really badly overlaid it onto the footage or something like that. Like I don't know how to explain it, but there's something like it's not the worst CGI I've seen. But there was
no,
something like
yeah,
off about it, and I I don't know how it got past someone. Like, I wonder if this show has a lower budget than we think it has. Like,
I don't. It can't though because you can't. This is their
I
biggest
wonder if
show.
I wonder if they spent all the budget on getting Ewan McGregor in it. But then he's said for years he would do it if Disney would ask him to do it. So, I can't see where the budget's going. I don't know whether like it's to do with the volume. I don't know if they've had to build more of those, and that's where the Kenobi budget's been allocated.
I
Because
can tell you where it wasn't allocated, and that's from Hayden
actually,
Christensen, who isn't in this thing at all, basically.
yeah, and I think we will get onto that. But I think in this episode, there's a few things we said. We'll quickly finish the episode. But there's a few things we said last episode which should happen in this episode. And I want to quickly touch on that once we've wrapped up. But it's like the CGI is just so unnecessarily bad. Like it's not that bad. It's just Star Wars. Like it's I don't know. I mean I've seen worse. I think like there's worse, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I feel like when we first watched it again, it's not something you noticed on the first watch. Like I feel like we were too much just happy that it's another episode of Obi-Wan.
I'm pretty sure I definitely pointed out the CGI on the first watch. Nah. Did I
I'm not
not?
No,
Uh,
no. The thing you said, and I want to make this clear that I knew this before it happened. You said Leia is the tracker when like because Reva lets them go, and you said Leia is the tracker, and I said no, it's the droids, and we find out immediately
Lola.
afterwards it is the droid. Yeah, Lola.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well just finish off what happens in the rest of the episode. So we finish off with Vader coming in with another badass scene, which he has a lot of in this show. He's treated very well. Very happy with Vader. Not gonna lie. He holds Reva up in the air for her failure, about to kill her, but she tells him that they're tracking them, and it's revealed that Lola is the tracker. There's a bit of dialogue on the ship at the end, nothing too interesting. End of episode. Now, Michael, thoughts on the episode, critiques? I thought it was bang average.
I feel like bang average is a good. I mean, I think it's a bit better than bang average, right? Because I feel like if the average is going to be a 5, let's say if I'm going to rate this on a scale of 0 to 10, I'd give this episode like a 6. So I guess like a decent average. Like it's a decent average. It does the job. It like when we watched it, I enjoyed it, and that's sort of like something that's also as important as whether the episode was good. If I enjoy it, it's going to be better than a 5 automatically. If I enjoy it, doesn't matter how crap the thing is. If I enjoy it, it's got to be a 5. And then it was good. They treated Vader well. There's lots of positives, like all the callbacks were nice, although nostalgia shouldn't blind you to whether something's actually good or not, right? I feel like there's a healthy dosage in it, but yeah, I don't know. Like you said, the pacing is quite off, and I think it was something I noticed when we watched it. When we got to the end of the episode, I was like, wait, like the end of the episode is satisfying, by the way.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know how to say it, but when I got there, I was like, that's it. And I don't mean the ending, that's it, but the middle. That sounds I don't know how to explain that, but like, you know how when an ending is disappointing, you say that's it. I kind of had that at the end about the middle.
Yeah,
about the pacing of the middle, and like this. Like I said, I thought like the reason I said about they brought up the pacing when we started was because on the rewatch, I thought the pacing was fine up until a certain point, and that point is when they get to the like into the castle. There's a few things where they should have had less like Leia Reva moments, right? But it was fine at that point because it kind of establishes like what's going on before they get there. Once they get there, it's a bit of a different issue.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for me, it was bang average is probably a bit harsh. It's
Yeah,
definitely it's a 6 out of 10. I think it's fair.
6.
It just
I
felt
think.
rushed. The CGI of the T-47s, as much as I love to see them, was dodgy. The lightsabers peed me off
You
a
liked
lot.
you liked all right. You did like the scene where with the torture chair and the lightsabers in the dark. That was cool.
Yeah,
There's some
yeah.
really cool bits, but like you said, the lightsabers just like not the first scene with the lightsabers. I think that was okay, right? The first bit with the couple of troopers, right? It's afterwards when there's way more of them and the purge trooper comes, and
No,
isn't it
it's the
right?
one before that. It's the one in the dark because it's
Oh
the
yeah,
one
yeah,
in the
the one in the
dark.
dark. Yeah, they take so many hits in the dark. Yeah, that was weird. I won't lie. When we first watched it, I thought there was more stormtroopers in there. I thought there had been more in there, and that's why. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like bang average is a bit harsh, right? But
Hmm.
it is. I feel like the word average is correct. I feel like it maybe is above average, right? It's not good.
Yeah, I
Like
just
it's good enough for me to enjoy it, and it was good enough. Like I think when we finished the episode, we were satisfied with the ending, and we are satisfied
yeah
with the start. Just a lot of the middle was the issue we had. I think. I mean,
yeah
I have some other issues. Like I think we might get onto it a bit more with when we get onto Reva, and I think obviously it's important to note we have watched episode 5, and some of this comes with knowledge of episode 5. But I do feel like we said Reva was going to turn to the light side, right? That was our big thing. And it's kind of weird. We didn't really have any big moments of Reva character development, like in this episode, to be honest. Like we had loads of really cool Reva moments, right?
mm,
Or like Reva Leia moments, but we didn't get anything like that furthered her character more. And that's not an issue. Just like I feel like if she does indeed go to the light side, or I guess stop being an Inquisitor, I feel like it's very much about how they're going to do that is going to be a big question for me, like for us, if it makes sense or not. Because I feel like that was important. I feel like we haven't really had much of a build up between like we only just had the build up towards the conflict between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader with the end of the tracker scene, right? But we
yeah
didn't. There wasn't too much of Darth Vader in this episode. He kind of got benched in a way, which is kind of a bit sad, I guess. But I don't mind. I like Reva as a character. I just felt like she didn't do much this episode.
yeah
There's a
they
couple of moments between her and Leia, but
yeah it's a case of normally in I don't know if you describe it as a filler episode. It
yeah,
further yeah, you probably would.
yeah,
And
that's what I was gonna say.
it furthered the plot, but normally in filler episodes you get character development, and Reva's someone who needed it, and Reva's someone who didn't really get it. I mean, I
I
like
feel
her character. I think she's a great character, but I think she needed a bit more.
I feel like we. By the way, I actually love her acting. Like I feel
Yeah,
like she's very much Sith. Like people call her have called her annoying and stuff. Yeah, of course she is. She's meant to be like the whole point of like dark side users. They're meant to be like completely like passionate or like full of desire, right? That they will do anything, and I mean anything, to like basically piss people off to get what they want, and that's basically what she does. So she like actually very much plays like this like the Sith or like Inquisitor archetype very well. I think almost better that the other ones are all a bit more quieter and more reserved than her, and you can kind of tell that she's the youngest one out of a lot of them, and the rest of them are like far older, ex Jedi or otherwise. But
yeah,
yeah, she's not like I feel like when we say she needs character development, I feel like it's because we know she's going towards the light side. We like when we talked about this, we said like if it's going to happen, which this episode has had enough scenes that indicates it will happen, right? Like I feel like a lot of the stuff where she talks to Leia and she's like, "Oh, I was alone," or like once had a droid, things like that, sort of further her character bits and pieces. But it's not it's not like the Bad Batch where like those sort of moments with like one of my like honestly one of my favorite characters was Omega, surprisingly, in that show. I feel like she had loads of cute little like moments like that where they're really small, but they really like develop her character in small ways. But the difference is that's like a much longer series where having those small character developments is the point. Whereas this is very much we've been set up as her being a main character, and she didn't really get the character development she needed. I don't know what sort of like thing do you think they could have done with her character, if, assuming they had to keep the same plot with this. Like, what do you think they could have done like that wouldn't have taken much time away from this episode, but they could have done to develop her character just slightly further?
It's tough, but at the end of the day, this wasn't even like one of the longer episodes. They definitely had more time to play with. I definitely think they could have done something. I'm not sure what. I just don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I just am frustrated by this episode because it was just even like finding the motivation to rewatch it was like tough. I mean, it's all right. It's like it's fine. I don't want to say too much. I love Ewan McGregor, and I think he's great. I think that Leia's the person who plays Leia, I've forgotten her name's great.
Oh,
like
yeah, she's great.
I like Moses, whatever, who plays.
I think she's great as well. Moses Ingram, yeah. I think she was great as well.
Yeah, I like the character. I think the acting's good. I think the scripting's all right. It was just this episode frustrating. I'm looking forward to moving on from it, to be fair.
I mean, I think that's the thing. I think the issue is it's not this was a bad episode, right? I don't think any stretch of the imagination we could argue this is like a bad, like a quote unquote bad, awful, ruins the show episode. But filler is the word for it. I think it doesn't. It's not, and it's not like Bad Batch where we had like I think we talked when we talked about the Bad Batch. There were episodes which felt like filler, but I always argued they were character development episodes, right? Because I felt like they always developed a character, especially Amiga. Like she got like a lot of love in that show, and I think that was good. Like she got a lot of development in that show, but with like this episode, it's filler, and no one really got much character development. Like Leia didn't do anything beyond being Leia. I mean, there was the cool moment, but the point is, as I like, the character she was from the start and at the end was the same, right? Obi-Wan was just like maybe a more confident character because he was very shaky on his way to get there. But at the end of the day, he's more or less the same. Like he's still shaky, to be honest. Like he really struggled to hold the glass.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, but Obi-Wan could have done that a lot easier in the Clone Wars, and which is not a bad thing. The point is that he didn't go anywhere, and nor was I expecting him to go anywhere. But Reva comes at it as a Inquisitor whose sole motivation is to get Kenobi right, and to a certain extent, she's just willing to use Leia. And while she sort of goes in the direction of like somewhat sympathizing with Leia, it comes across as very artificial, which is meant to be, I think. But I think if they're being a bit more like, maybe they could have done without like spoiling whether she was going to turn to the light side or not, or whether she was a youngling. It's hard, but maybe if they could actually got her to more genuinely relate to Leia rather than do it to like get information, that would have been maybe one way of doing it. But then that maybe that reveals too much, and maybe that's the whole point it's meant to be. When they do it, it's going to be like a bit more of a like sudden change rather than a like a gradual process. But yeah, she could have done with something. I feel like I'm just not sure what they could have done, but maybe she deserved something beyond what she got. Not that the acting was bad or that necessarily every episode needs to develop characters, but if you're not gonna, like I said, it's gonna be a filler episode, at least give us a character developing filler episode. I feel like like you said, it's not really filler because it develops like the plot does get furthered, but did the episode need to be this long? Like considering how much it did, no, because it didn't do as much as it could have done, because I think it needed an extra 5-10 minutes. Like you said, the pacing was so off.
Yeah,
parts of it. I don't know.
I would agree with you. I think that's a good assessment. And that wraps up our podcast looking back at episode 4 of Kenobi. As you can see, the consensus isn't that bright, but don't worry, it gets better in episode 5. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought. Our socials are linked down below to stay up to date with what we've got coming. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.